All right. Okay. Hi. How are you? How's everybody doing? I hope you've had a good week and doing fun things and a good weekend, I guess. And yeah, blah, 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 blah. So, having a good day. I've had a busy weekend. I'm feeling a lot better than I did last week. And I ain't half bad. When the grandkids were over a couple weeks ago, I got a cold from them because of my reduced immune system. Quickly developed into it's like a pneumonia. And, we're on the up and ups now. Boy, oh boy, yo, team, go. So, I, I've been really busy this weekend trying to get postings of all of the backlog of Patreon pages that I have, but not inundating the Patreon supporters with just not a barrage of things. And so I've been trying to meter them out, one in the morning, one at night, one in the morning, one at night. That's my dance. All right. So, it's trying to be real, trying to follow through on my stuff, and at the same time, next year. This is page 326, which means I have 30 pages to do to make my 356 pages over a 356-day period. Even though I didn't start posting things until January 15th, we're going to count that time. So just maybe, I don't know. Maybe I'll extend it over. But in the meantime, I just thought, why not try to aim for an objective and pursue that and see where it takes me? And I'm feeling pretty good about that. So thank you for all the encouragement and support that people have given me over time. We'll get into the next part in a second. This is today's page. It was drawn on a jelly-plated paper, not exactly a jelly-plated paper, but a brayered paper, not a brayered paper. And a brayered paper is, well, let me put it in the other camera just for a quick sec. This is a brayer off paper. It's where you run off runs of paint that you're trying to clean off of your brayer while you're doing jelly plating on another surface. And so that's what this is. And so this was drawn on top of one of those surfaces. And feeling pretty good about it. I drew it and just scrolled it on in a green pen and then hit it with some pencil colors. And so I'm pretty pleased with how it is. I think if anything, I wish I could have realized how dark that last panel would print. So, but maybe I'll just lighten it up before I do anything with it. So, this is just a commentary on how stupid it is when in stories you'll see there'll be two police officers and they'll be like, oh, what's happening here? And they'll look like serious police officers for a second, detectives and the like. And then the protagonist comes along and makes them look like ding dogs anyway. So why bother? But it's always written that way for some reason, unless we're looking at it funneled entirely just through our detectives. And they'll still oftentimes argue with beat cop or something like that about not collecting the testimonies or whatever. It's just this weird conceit that you find in a lot of media, television and films and even comics. They'll defer to the superhero, even though the hell do these vigilante lunatics know? Anyways, so I was playing on that conceit, and blessedly, the first person that responded to it is a really good friend of mine who happens to be a law enforcement, and so I was worried because I don't want to offend anybody. I don't have any problem with police, and they're just people. But anyhow, so that's today's page page 325 of 2023. So yeah, this is good. Got that done. Now, today's suggestion is a car crash by Dale E. is today's suggestion. So I'll just type that. I'm just typing that down here in my Pont and Peck type of typing. So a car crash. That's all I've been suggested today, which is pretty open-ended when you think about it. And so thank you, Dale, for the suggestion. I'm more done than undone for the Comic-Con suggestions. So we're getting there. And there were upwards of 40 of them. So yeah, so this feels good to get closer to that. Now, I've got a piece of paper that has some slap and drag watercolor on it. And so this is the surface that I've got. And on a gray cardstock, I like to flick the cardstock because it sounds different in my head than when you flick a piece of, thin paper or something that you can see through. It just, my finger just big nice dent in it, but cardstock snaps. So hopefully it doesn't pop anybody's ears. So I thought I would try. I just got this little box of random drawing implements and some charcoal, some Conte, some ink, some crayon. I've got some gesso that I'll be throwing into, and with some brushes. So I just thought I would just have some fun and just go for it. I did a bunch of jelly plating today, and I've got, I'll show you, I've got a healthy stack of stuff now. So, we got surfaces to work on. I'm looking forward to that. Okay, so we've got today's suggestion. We're going to get cracking, and I'm going to blabber while I'm drawing. So, but if anybody has questions, please feel free to ask. The suggestion is car crash. So this is a medium charcoal pencil that I've got here, and we're going to get messy today. I'm not a big fan of messy, so I'm doing this for you. When I'm working with this, now, I'm not a charcoal guy who, the way to use charcoal is, I don't believe in the way to use anything is. But it's just try things out and see what works for you. But I like that you can smudge charcoal and make a mess with it, and, so I'll be playing a little bit with that. Now, I've also got some graphite here. Give me a sec. There we go. There we are. This is just a solid piece of lead that has a lacquer finish around it from Progreso. And so I'm going to use this as well. And, you're going to see different values of blacks as I go. So yeah, so this is page 326. And we're going to see how many we can get done by end of the year. And yeah. If anybody has, as usual, suggestions for one-page ideas that they think I should try a story based on this notion, you are more than welcome to feel free to let me know that, and we'll do our best to incorporate it in. This is a burnt umber. Ooh, let's use this. It's basically like just an off black, right? So I'm just going to draw the car in here. Now I'm smudging it out and taking away all the tooth out of it. Now I'm going to come back in, but I just want to get all these marks down and play with. I know it's not conventional, but I just want to play with getting all of this value down on the surface. And then we're going to cut pieces out of it with an eraser. So if anybody's working on anything, please let me know. if anybody's got questions about anything, whether it's what in the world I'm doing today or any materials you've seen me use or that you think I should be trying or whatever it is, please feel free to let me know that. Tomorrow is 3 from Tuesday. And tomorrow's talk is going to be about, now this is from a suggestion. Tomorrow's talk is going to be about how to make money as an artist. Today's talk is about different plans for next year. And the reason that I want to chat about this a little bit is that I'm going to be switching some things up next year. And, excuse me, still trying to get over this cough. So one of the things I'm going to switch up is I'm only going to do a one-page story on certain days live in the stream. And on those other days, we're going to put videos up. I'm still going to do a one-page story each day as to the best of my ability. But I'm not going to stream every day. I just, you know, it's routine is good and everything, but I've got all these different objectives that I'm trying to accomplish. And at the same time, I still got to stream each day. In order to meet this obligation I have. Pardon me, I'm going to have a drink in 2 seconds. All right, here comes Derwent. Look at that sucker go. Look at him doing his job. We're going to play a little more than this, but I'm trying to figure out how can I shade with the electric eraser. I think it's all about pressure. That's fun. It's fun. You can put down and it pulls back out again. Now, I'm also going to use some gesso in here too. And really just push and pull at the surface of this. Anyhow, so let's get back into drawing our broken core. So car crash is today's suggestion. Excuse me. Yeah, let's switch. This isn't got enough guts to it. So I've got a black pencil crayon. I think I'm going to use that instead of the everything's turned over a little bit in here because I've been doing this jelly plating. That's all right. So we're just building up bits of surfaces. So the idea is that if the page is supposed to be about a car crash, let's start with a car crash. Okay, next year I want to do, I'm going to be doing more videos. I've got a bunch of stuff set up to do some tutorial. I've been rather quiet about when people have said, what kind of things are you doing next year? And I'm like, just, I haven't announced them yet, and I will announce them soon. But the reason that I'm doing that is that the DMs that I receive are, you know, how do you do whatever that was? Can you explain your process on, yeah, how do you approach this or how do you approach that? And so maybe it's just easier if I try to break down each of these things quickly instead of just running through it and you trying to keep up with whatever I'm yabbering about in the moment or whatever the after effect is. Oh, I'm missing stuff. I'm so sorry. Hello, Paula. Welcome aboard. So that's what's going to happen in the tutorials that I'll be posting on YouTube in the new year. And in addition to that, we'll be doing more shorts. And we've been compiling a bunch of little episodes of Corbin up to the business, you know. So, but as always, if you've got questions or if you've got thoughts and you want to post those, you're always welcome to do so. Well, it looks like I got a question already. How do I stay so devilishly handsome? Oh my goodness. You have very frosted glasses. I'm not sure. Hi, Anne. Welcome aboard. Okay, so I've got some tutorials set up for the new year, where I will be talking about some applications and process to help people with those questions. And in addition to that, I've got Corbin videos, which people like, and in fact, it's a series of them. It's like its own little, and moments from Corbin's perspective. It's just silly fun. But okay, this is gesso, just plain simple white gesso that I have here on the palette knife that I'm taking out with taking off with this little brush. And I've got a thing of water to my side. The reason I keep my water not directly beside me is because I'll drink it. It sounds so tragic, but it's true. I'm using a gray toned paper. I'm putting in little spots with the white rather than drawing in entire areas. And we're building up the image here as we go. We're having some fun. And this paper has already got white paint from a Slap and Dragon process on top of it. So we will be utilizing that surface as well. So the other change that I'm going to be making is I've enjoyed taking part in some of the different things that have gone on this year, like Zine Swap that Janet ran, and I've done an indie comics jam here on the Intertube, and these things are fun, but they are a little time consuming, and I'm really I'm looking forward to engaging with more people. If people have me on their channel, people have been doing it now, but if people have me on their channels, I'm looking forward to those engagements. But I'm not. I've got a whole bunch of things I've got to get done in the new year. And one of those things is the release of the new book finally. And it's just, bogged down in publish or whatnot. So it'll be out soon enough. And when it is, then, we'll see what we got. So I got some in here. So I do little random things like this for I got no real sense of logic that I can explain to you well. Spatter stuff off onto the paper and just incorporate it in. But I like little textures. It's one of the reasons that I will utilize jelly-plated paper or things like that. So if you're wondering why in the world does he just make a mess like that on a regular basis, well, that's why. This is a regular old pencil crayon, black pencil crayon. Now I've also got in my hand, a piece of charcoal, medium grade charcoal. And pardon me. And we'll be incorporating some of that in a second too, just because I like the differences of the application. See, when I run my hand over the pencil crayon, it doesn't move through the surface. Whereas when I blend my finger into the charcoal, yeah, it smudges like the dickens, and that is great for me. So I got a couple of projects lined up for the new year that I'll be working on. I'm going to pursue a project that I've wanted to do for some time, and so I'll be doing that in the new year, and producing pages for it. I've done a couple of projects this year for different publishing avenues, and I tend to feel that process is a little disappointing to me, because you have no idea when these things come out and how they come out and what the finished part of it is. Dan, hiya, Dan. Welcome aboard. Sorry if I'm missing saying hi to everybody. I think I've got everybody, but if I missed you, I'm sorry, and I'll try to catch up again. So this is now the, yeah, I think it's a Conte. It's not a, yeah, this is a Conte. I'm sorry, not a charcoal. And so I've got some little hits with this that I'm putting in. And the difference between is that, like I said before, I can smudge here, and I like that, and then we come back in and we cut some white back out. But it's also a really fancy black, and I like that. So, car crash being our topic for today, or their suggestion today for the one-page story. So I'm just going to start right off by drawing a car crash. Old car. Pardon me. Okay. So if anybody has anything that they're working on, or if anybody's got any streams they want to tell people about, come on and check them out, please do. There's some cool stuff being done. I really like seeing other people's streams, but I'm usually looking at streams or listening to streams while I'm working in the studio. So I try to always thumbs up. I don't always say hi. Sometimes I'm one of them lurker types. And I've seen some stuff recently by Anne, who's with us today, Aunt Laura. I hope I pronounced it right. I really enjoy what everybody's doing. And I just, again, once more, I'm sorry if I don't, voice myself while I'm there always. But, so this is that Conte again. So we're getting our cars coming together now, slowly and surely. We're getting our car built up here to look like what was a car. Not it's a car anymore. But 3-prompt Tuesday tomorrow. So anybody, I've said this earlier, but anybody that's joined later on, if you've got a prompt idea, a one-word prompt, or bad haircuts, one-word prompt. I know it's 2 words. I know. Feel free to put those down today if you like for tomorrow, or you can wait until tomorrow and surprise me then. I'm just going to write them down and pick the next 3 along as I go. And I've got a few now, but I'm always open. Making sure I'm, thanks, Christopher. So, you're welcome, Anne. You're a great stream. You're talented. a big fan of other people's work. I just, you know, one of the things I'm going to talk about tomorrow with this whole talk about making money as an artist, by the way, during the 3-Prompt Tuesday, we're also going to talk about authenticity. So I'm just trying to let some people know that in advance. This, we're going to be real. I'm sorry if it's, some people have a hard time with the real part. You just want, what about all the secrets? Where are the secret keys? Where are the secret keys to the kingdom? Let's see what you are. Ooh, that's pretty. This is a pastel, pencil pastel. No, maybe not. Maybe it's just a content. Yeah, that's not going to stick around. Let's go back to this. I had a brush. There it is. Oh, hold on a second, Anne. I'll write that down. Prompt for tomorrow, ancient. I'll definitely write that down. Is it too early to mention Floyd the Barber, Christopher? What? Is this a prompt? Or are you saying I need a haircut? Okay, so I'm writing that down as a prompt, Floyd the Barber. And that's Dan that said that. And then ancient, which is how I feel nowadays. And that's Anne. And so and Paula says, thank you for being real and authentic. Or yay for being real and authentic, I'm sorry. I'm a big proponent of that. And I'm not suggesting that I've come across all kinds of people that aren't. It's not one of those. It's when we're talking about a subject like, how do you make money with your art? I find that a lot of those things that you find online I don't believe they're very real or authentic. So that is the why of letting people know in advance, is that I'm going to be very straightforward with folks. Okay, so now I'm just cutting out. So one of the things that's nice about using that Conte to blend in some of these dark values is that it gives a deeper gray and on this already existing gray paper. And makes me push it a little bit farther along. But what we do get is we get a nicer depth of range and difference in value. So another thing that I'll do similar to this is that I'll just splash, a wash value down, sort of similar to how we got this, or I'll just, gray out an area and then push it back or pull it forward. And what I mean by that is pulling it forward is lighter values and pushing it back is darker values. And one of the things that you can do with this when you're working purely in white and black, shades and the tints, I guess the tints and the shade over here, you can seal this up and then come in and really, seal it. You got to seal it. But you can come in with a series of washes over that and start throwing some color down. You just you sort of got to let yourself be receptive to the possibility of doing things like that. I've got earbuds in my ears here, but my music ended 5 minutes ago. So I realize I'm just sitting here with headphones on that aren't doing anything for me. So there's a artist that I encourage people to consider some ideas from, and that is a guy named Baron Story. taught at the California Institute of Art, taught at the Pratt Institute, cover for magazine of Howard Hughes, etc., etc. He talked about with his students, you can put positive marks down or negative marks down, but you can also go over them and take some of that away. And then you can go back over that and pull some of that back out. Like there's no, you can do as many layers and things on a composition as you feel the need to do so. And that really opened me up. And I always advocate for other people to think about that when they're drawing, painting, pastels, whatever it is. Even pencil crayons, for heaven's sake, you can adjust an area in a large pencil crayon composition. Like there's just so many different ways that we can work on stuff. But if you make a mistake, it's only a temporary thing. Now, there's purists out there. I appreciate you, purists. You're cute, you're covered, but we're not allowed to tell other people this is the only way to do a thing, because we're not going to limit people that way. They're going to figure out new ways to do things, and we're going to go, why didn't I think of that? Never would have happened if we said you're not allowed to do it any other way than this. So, hugs and cuddles, purists, but yeah, we're not in the same club. Do you kind of do a swatch either in your mind or on paper? Be right back. Okay, well, let me know when you're back, Dan, because I could. What is a swatch? Are you talking about sketch? Are you doing? Is that autocorrect getting you? If it's a sketch, no. Okay, so let's. Who are you? You're the contact. Who are you? You're the pencil crayon. So the reason that I'm doing the pencil crayon for the background with the darker value than the Conte is that the Conte diffuses and lightens up, right? A color swatch? Maybe, frankly. Ladies and gentlemen, if you get a chance and you're interested in manufacturing your own materials, not only frankly does story illustration, but if you're interested in manufacturing your own materials in order to engage in one of these tabletop gaming situations with kids, grandkids, whatever, or just friends, Frankly's got some fun pieces that he's put together there. I'm really impressed by. And I'm referring to Roll for Tarocco when I say Frankly. It's his name. Okay, just give me 1 second. I'll get back to the comments. Oops. I want to correct the size of the door. Blending. Do I kind of do a swatch either in your mind or on paper, or a color swatch or blending swatch? No. So I think that that's a healthy pursuit. And I think that there's a great deal of creators that do these things. And I will never say that there's no legitimacy in process, because your process is going to work for you, and your process is going to work for you, and your process, etc. And if that works for folks, I think that's great. There's a couple things at play. I got a kind of understanding of color that's always growing, just like the next person. But at the same time, I'm one of those people that just dives into any given thing. And the reason that I do so is because time being limited, and I've got other things that I do in the mornings, and I've got other things that, in a life that I live, and then other things I do in the evening, and obligations and other projects. I don't have a lot of time for doing a lot of test and study along the way. I tend to work because I do each piece somewhat rapid on the last one. I just tend to dive in. When I work with pastels, sometimes the pencil tins have a listing or box to figure out the color blends. See, and this is the part that when I say if that works for you, right on. I want you to do the thing that gives you the facility to pursue the images that you want to make. What are you? Yeah, that's you. I want you to try out these different tools and approaches and study things and have an understanding of whatever it is that you're using. I think that's a healthy thing to do. There is a problem along the way for people at times where they can't just get into working on any specific thing because they're spending X amount of time studying it and building it up and trying to figure out all the processes along the way, as opposed to throwing the spaghetti at the wall and seeing if it's done yet. Everything's objectively experimental in the first place, no matter how prepared people are. And if this one doesn't work out, do it again. Do a different one. Here's the thing people don't know. Edvard Munch did 40 paintings of the Scream. He did 40 of them. And in the execution of all these things, they change. Right? Frankly, I had the kids over Thanksgiving. We played a TTRPG and put together a character book for my oldest, doing a video talking about my time with them. So, Frank, that's fantastic. Right on. It's awesome. I'm glad you got to spend that time with the kids. You blink and they're adults. I figure nobody's going to know in 40 years. Yeah, sure. Also, nobody's going to know now if you don't tell them. But it's all about your comfort level. It's all about where that feels for you. And if there's benefit to you to test those things out, to look at color swatches and how they work together, to look at, if you've got a selection of grays from, white to black and all the, number of intermediates, and you want to test out what they are, feel free to test out what they are. But generally, I find that you're not going to use all 6 of those. You're just not. And not initially. If you can allow yourself a high contrast of white and black, your deeper values and your lighter values, and just pick one of these gray tones along the way, and you can supplant black to white, gray in between to any color field right now. Okay, so yellow to red, and all the types of orange, etc., in between, or yellow to blue, and all the transitions of green along the way. I think you'll find that if you do the outside edges and an internal choice, the white, the black, and one of these grays, and you work up your high contrast and then that intermediate value, and then the next one you do, add a second intermediate value, add a second gray, and so on and so forth, and just find your comfort level rather than trying to plug everything in right at the outset. Because sometimes when we do stuff like that, we hold ourselves back from just the execution aspect of things, and that's not fun. I'm excited to see what you're working on. There are people that have interests in creativity and have an interest and a want and a need to express themselves that will then spend the next 45 years studying and trying out this or trying out that, instead of just allowing yourself to just go for it. Make some mistakes. Put out some absolutely awful work. Doesn't have to, show. You don't have to show everybody. I mean, there's a fun thing to say where you look at something you did a year ago and then look at what you're doing now and go, oh, okay. I have an antagonism where I have a bunch of pieces done from projects that I never released. I just never got around to putting them out, because by the time the opportunity arose for me to say, well, now I got some time, I can focus on putting this thing out, stylistically and creatively, I've changed so much that it's like, I don't even know what I'm looking at right now. And I find that really frustrating, and there's a part of me that wants to go back and rework them. But truth be told, no point. Just keep moving forward. Because if I just sit down and try to redraw the thing, well, what am I going to do in 2 years from now? And 2 years from then? And 2 years from then? Etc. Etc. Now, to get really tidy little bits of spackle and spray, use a paintbrush, or a toothbrush, I'm sorry, paintbrush. Use a toothbrush, because when you load up some stuff in the toothbrush, it does this fine little mist of a spatter. I dig the spaghetti idea. Let the freak flag fly. I love that. Yep. There's somebody said that's crazy to me, that to just be experimental all the time, and just allowing myself to learn and to choose. And this will fit into talking about authenticity tomorrow, is that when you do that, when you allow yourself to just go for it, at the same time, you are figuring out something that's entirely your own. Because if you're doing it from how you feel comfort and how you feel makes sense to you to approach a thing, as opposed to, I don't know, following how Bob Ross would tell you to do it. Which one's going to make you look like you? Which one's going to make you look like Bob Ross? So, yeah, let your freak flag fly. Be experimental. Make like spaghetti. See what sticks when you throw it at the wall. Make like spaghetti. Paula says, really cool drawing. What kind of pencil are you using? Okay, so this is black pencil crayon. This is a Faber-Castell, just a cold gray water. I'm sorry, it's a waterproof Indian ink brush pen. You can find these at like Indigo Chapters or whatever types of things you have in this stage for those. I'm sorry. And this is just a medium black Conte pencil. I have this on it because my hands it's not thick enough for me. This is a nice thicker pencil. That's why I like drawing with these. It's because of my ginky hands. And then this is a gesso that I'm putting down, a white gesso that I'm throwing down into the drawing. And then I'm just about to put some of that gesso spattered on there with the paintbrush. Paul says, thanks. Oh, thank you for asking. Okay, so we've got this part together. Now, I'm going to get some of this gesso on here, on the tip of this brush. Okay, and then need some more water on it, maybe? I think maybe. No, here we go. We got a little bit of... Yeah, let's put some water on that. Just dip that into the water for a sec. And then have a go with it. All right. So this these little bits of spatter and stuff through here is just, I'm picking and choosing and tamping some of them out and leaving some of them in. But what it affords me is a little bit of visual complexity there. It's gonna paint all on my fingernail. So this gives me a little bit of visual complexity. And when it dries, we can still cut some lines back out of it in a second and see what that allows us to make with our lines, to make with our shapes and stuff inside of here, so that we can more clearly define the tire well and stuff. We'll get to that in just a second. I'm going to. This is the Conte that I'm using now. So this is just a piece of gray cardstock, a light gray tone to it, and just on its side, and then just smushing it in, blending it in a little bit. And then we're going to come in with some gesso on the paintbrush here, but I'm going to water it down a little bit. And then we're going to come and we're going to cut some lines into the back, sort of like just stripes on a road. Just little bits of something, just to make there more happening around it than a flat, dead gray surface. And we can put a little cool barrier. We'll put a cool barrier in here in a second. Everything doesn't have to be opaque, right? Things can blend in. Again, it's just throwing it at the wall. Da, 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 da. You also don't have to do solid lines. So where we put marks like so, where we don't have the entire line filled in, our eye fills that in for us. As we're looking at something, we want to make the recognizable pattern. Our brain and our eye says we want to make some more sense out of that. So this is why I'm often advocating you don't have to draw the entire line around the door. You can leave that little piece in the corner out, because we know these things interconnect. We know the door bends that way, because we have a general understanding of doors. We've seen them before. Okay, so I'm going to leave this first panel for now. Let's move on to the next one. So here's the thing. Today's suggestion is car crash. That's it, a car crash. A fellow named Dale, I better write it down. Dale E. Car crash, in case I lose my note. I always do that. Thank you for the prompts for tomorrow, by the way, folks. If anybody has any more that come to mind, please feel free to let me know during the stream. Now, this information that you see here, these bits of marks and this white swishing mark, this is part of the slap and drag that I did on this paper previous to today. And this is a Mastercraft pencil for carpentry. It's just a basic HB pencil, but I like the size of them. So, all right. So this is our whole tool spread, by the way, that we've been using with the toothbrush, right? This is our tool spread that we've been using today. I was going to do some erasing out, but I realized I'm going to get so smudgy, I'm going to make my eraser dirty. I'm a fussy person who doesn't like dirty erasers. So let's pull in on our composition here. And sometimes when we pull in on a shot, and I say shot when I know I'm drawing a two-dimensional panel, but I tend to think of it like a camera. And so when we pull that camera in. It's no different than when you're watching motion pictures and you pull that camera in for emotional impact and emotional connection to character. Why are we making things? Okay. Like we want somebody's reaction or somebody's how they're feeling and handling a scenario that they're in. And so in this case, I'm picked this piece of the image that I'm focusing ourselves in on so that we can further textually discourse on the subject of this car crash in the first place. And so, you know, the scenario that's in the background here, we're just going to replicate some of those marks and, you know, tune them up a little bit here so that there's a little deeper understanding of the details. But, and then you can see where I'm imaginary drawing myself a line to end the frame, to end the panel, even though, you know, that's not necessary. You can sit down with a ruler and draw the ruler out for yourself for the panel. But I don't know, maybe I want to change the size of it at some point. Who knows? Right? Like the marks that I'm using here are very different than the marks that I'm using there, and I have to tie them together in some way. Here's my imaginary bottom of the panel, right? As we're carrying this line across here. So but you can see how we're trying to hit the major notes that are in the previous panel. And the second one, as we're zooming out a little, and then we can get more complex with the information that we put down for those. I know that I use a lot of references for this that, you know, are related to film or music or things like that. And they're all kind of the same, right? They're all very similar in how they're producing the same result. Like when we're talking about emotional tonality and storytelling, well, it's not much different than the emotional tonality that you have when you're playing music. There's certain scales, there's certain chords that resonate emotionally in very different ways. So there's some similarities. There's overlapping similarities in these different mediums. I'd love to see other days, but work most of the days of the week. I can always catch replays too. Curious about Ancient. Yeah, if you're, I'll be streaming tomorrow at 2. But if you're unable to watch a stream when your suggestion has come up, and I try to let people know what I'm going to be working on today at the start of a stream, then yeah, you know, the streams are all posted to YouTube, and people can get a look at them there. And then any of the finished pages made from suggestions are always put up on Instagram and Facebook. So, okay, so we've got, see some of this high contrast black that I was referring to coming out of that Conte pencil. This is the pencil crayon again, but it also lets me do some interesting things like just carving out some shapes by detail, or some details by shape. I'm so sorry. I'm less interested in looking at things as lines than I am as defining things by shapes. Background is in painting, and so because of that, you don't look at things linearly, you look at things as form and volume and shape. I really appreciate all the suggestions that I've been receiving this year from people for one-page story ideas, and you know, some of those get carried away in the multiple-page story ideas. this is 326 so far for this year. And I think we're going to hit that goal. And I say we because the goal wouldn't be possible without everybody enjoying and taking part in the process, or at the very least, taking part in the process. I hope you enjoy what we're doing. So if it wasn't for the suggestions and the random ideas, and especially some of those ones where you guys, clearly somebody's trying to challenge me. Oh yeah, do a horse playing a guitar riding a bicycle. That was a fun one. We did it. Now my take on it might be a little sideways. but we're trying. We're having fun. Castle. Castle is another suggested word. Okay, I'm putting it down. Thank you very much, Paula. You're more than welcome to suggest multiple ones or full ideas. I just write them down in the book. Is how I do it. For those that haven't seen the Book of Tricks, it is buried. I'm so sorry. I was jelly plate printing before the stream, and so my desktop is a mess. But the book is where I put down all the suggestions, and even the suggestions on pieces of paper that came from the con. Those go into the book as well. Eventually, I'll get them properly written in there, but in the interim, they're sitting there waiting their spot in the queue. I try to do everything I can for folks. That everybody that's new, I try to, get that moving up a little higher in the queue. Everybody wants to have fun. I've got no preferences. I literally just open the book, pick one, and go. I don't do any advanced consideration for anything that I'm working on, and the reason for that is that the spontaneity forces me to have to be creative and to think things out. Castle could be considered hard for sure. Well, it depends on how you go about with the execution of it, right? Like if you're just drawing a castle, castles, like everything else, are built up of form. For those that haven't heard me say this yet, I am a huge advocate of people figuring out how to draw. I'll move my note with all the suggestions. That you can draw anything with this, this, and this. All you have to do is sit down and look at any given thing. Turn it around in your hand if you can, and look at it for the shapes that it's made out of. Turn it on its side. A bottle is largely a rectangle that has a triangular shape that moves up into the neck, and another skinnier rectangle at the top if it's a tall bottle. If you look at it from the top down, it's a big thick circle at the bottom, and it gets set up into smaller circles as it moves towards the top. It's just, things are built out of these three principal shapes. Now, the more complex you get your drawing, then these are going to become a triangle, a sphere, and a cube. And you look at how structure is built out of those things, and then you'll see more form develop in your drawings. But nothing should you ever look at anything and go, I don't know how that works. Even some things that are complex, like the muscle groups of a horse or anything you could think of. It's just more shapes, more complexity. But I believe in you guys, and I think that you can draw anything you set your mind to. Now, is this going to be the most perfect drawing that anyone has ever done of whatever this object that we might be trying to represent. Maybe not the first time out. Maybe not. I say maybe not because maybe, who knows? But maybe the next time you draw it, you're better at it. You're more comfortable with lighthouses. You're more comfortable with horses, or you're more comfortable with drawing the funny hats on traditional wizards. Whatever it is. Pumpkins. Pumpkins seem like a really complex thing until you realize, okay, I can break this down into shapes. And some people say, pumpkins? Airplanes. Airplanes. Bowls of yogurt. That doesn't matter. Motorcycles. Bicycles is one of those things that people look at a bicycle and go, no idea. But it's just more complex than usual in its combination shapes. That's all. But you can do it. I know you can. I'd sooner see 60 quote-unquote failures of trying to figure out how to draw the bicycle than you not trying to draw a bicycle. And besides, your crazy look of a bicycle that, you might not have ever seen a bicycle before from the looks of the drawing. But somebody's going to look at that and go, that's the coolest bicycle I've ever seen. I want to build one of those. Way to go. You changed how we use bicycles. You did it. Which is which? You're this guy. No, hey, I got this guy. Let's use this kid. So this is just the regular old HB graphite. So different amounts of pressure gives us different values, right? Of course, different tools gives us different tonal values. This black is much deeper than the black of a graphite pencil. So we got Christmas coming up. I wonder if, for those of you that celebrate Christmas, where are you at? How you doing? You okay? It's just another day. It's a nice day to have some time with people if you have the opportunity to do so. True, it doesn't need to be hard. And some are more simple to begin with. Yeah, just work your way to anything you do. Well, Paul, you said sorry about something. You never need to say sorry to me. Listen, just stepped on my toes, and then I'm like, why did you do that? Why? Yeah. So we got a little more detail, like in the reflection on the window, or we're pushing our choices a little bit differently here. This is the Conte again. Using that just to smudge it around. Push that gray there. All right. And we'll go back in a second to that first picture and tighten up some of our lines. Excuse me. I better take a sip of my whatnot. My wife got me this cool cup. There's a pottery place nearby called Pinecroft, I think it is. I think it is. I'm probably saying it wrong. And it's this. It's in the woods, and potters all get together there and make all kinds of work and do raku firing and things like that. And every time we go there and have a bite to eat, we'll find some little knick-knacky thing. Got little birds and bunnies all over our house from this sort of behavior. These are things that happen when your kids move out on you. They'll grow up. Now you gotta occupy yourself by buying knick-knack bunnies. And then look at yourself in the mirror and say, is this who you are now? Knick-knack bunny guy? I guess so. So I'm really using up all of the gesso that I put onto this palette knife. That's where all the white's coming from. So here we've got a closer shot of the door of the car. And anecdotally in our storytelling, we can now focus on this specific, aspect of what has happened here. We've tightened in on the car. You could even do another panel where you tighten even further on that steering wheel. Maybe we'll do that. But so what you're doing is you're drawing the reader in visually. Now, textually, you don't have to be talking about drawing the reader in to the car. Textually, you can be talking about some sort of example of something that's reminiscent of a car crash. I did a page last year where I talk about how sometimes when we think that things are going to work out, if I'll just try it again and it might work out this time. Well, it didn't work out last time, and you haven't done anything different, and it's sort of like, this is an inevitable car crash because of the way you're going about it. And so the dialogue talks to that, and maybe if I just, maybe this time if I try it, it'll be everything will go according to plan, and and without a hitch. And as this dialogue is saying these ideas, this car has hit a tree and has caught on fire and is tumbling. And at the end, as your resolve is, if I've tried things differently and everything will go without a hitch this time, it could be smooth sailing then. And in the last panel, I have the car careening over the side of the cliff, up in the air, just flying up into the air off the road. And in conjunction with where the text says, everything will be smooth sailing then. And so this whole page where I'm trying to illustrate that it's the inevitable car crash, things aren't going to go right. The dialogue is exempling a car crash. So I mean, it's a different headspace to be sure. What the images is telling us, and what the visuals are telling us, because I never mentioned the car crash in the text. I just talk about decisions that we make that didn't work, but we think they're going to work next time. But they're exempling the same thing. Or the one can be, is it allegory or is it metaphor? Analogy? Yeah, tired. But you're using a visual representation of, we know where this is going. And so the bending of perspective that we can do by incorporating text and visuals together is unlike any other medium. I mean, yeah, sure, they can do it in TV and film, but where do you think they come up with these notions in TV and film? It's still a sequential storytelling approach. It's a sequence of events. It's a sequence of images that tells a story. And, I've cited this before. I'll cite it again. There's a Canadian artist who's from London, Ontario, here where I am. And he did a piece called Olga and Mary Visiting. And I highly recommend you look at this, because Jack Chambers, the artist I'm referring to, talked about perceptual realism. Well, a realistic interpretation of moment in a static image is only ever going to capture one part of it. And, you know, the viewer, the reader, fills in the differences. The viewer or the reader, well, this isn't a car, but maybe it makes them think of a car, or maybe there's enough of it, it's a representative enough of a car that their mind fills in the difference of this two-dimensional paper illustration and says, that's a car. That's a car that's been in a car accident. And our brains, you know, especially from references and experiences that we've had, will fill in the difference. So now it's a car. It's a smashed up car. So we're dependent on each other, the viewer and the creator. And the creator wants to make it easier on the viewer. The storyteller wants to make it easier on the person reading the story. But at the same time, you know, the reader can help the creator out by, you know, you're not going to pick up, you know, some sort of political treatise on you know, 16th century politics. If you've no interest in that, you're going to tend to gravitate towards the things that you know and understand and can reference from your own interest, or you're going to cite your own experiences in those situations. You can read a thing about the hardship and poverty of people in the 16th century, but you're going to refer to the hardship and poverty moments that you might have had in your own life. It's all about just trying to bridge that connection between creator and audience. And we can do so with trying to capture moments and trying to carry moments along as best as we can visually, and ideas along as best as we can textually. If you're writing something down, you don't have to draw it. If you're drawing something out, you don't have to write it. If a person's opening a door in a picture and they get their handle turning the knob as they're heading into a doorway, and it says in the word balloon, I'm going in this doorway that I've just opened, you're kind of missing the point. This is the thing that I'm always advocating for people using sequential media to tell stories. In this case, you know, you can, that's why I don't say comics all the time. I'll say comic stories. But because comics, it's just, you have an association with comics are. Whereas in what we're doing is that we're just telling whatever stories and using sequential tools, right? And it's a fusion of text and pictures. So I'm missing some stuff. I'm so sorry. Paula says, fascinating what you're talking about and good tips too. Oh, thank you, Paula. I appreciate that. Aesop's Fables from Fractured Fairy Tales. See, there's a fun example. I don't know about how old people are, and please don't tell me, and I don't make any assumptions. But when I was younger, I loved watching Rocky and Bullwinkle. And they had Fractured Fairy Tales. And the perspective that they had on storytelling is fantastically liberating, because there's moments where they would turn and talk to the camera. There's moments that they would make a reference that's clearly not for this age group watching it, but for a much older demographic. You know, there's references to fairy tales, to politics, to whatever else it is, that, you know, there's all these kinds of levels of sophistication in Rocky and Bullwinkle. And it's a silly program about a moose and a squirrel. You know, but again, you can take something like a Fractured Fairy Tale and you know, talk about the moral message of the thing, but where it's being acted out completely inanely. So that's a fantastic example, Dan. My favorite all-time cartoon. Is that right, Ann? Excellent. That is so excellent. I'm glad to hear that. That's a good one. I used to do impressions of Rocky and Bullwinkle for my kids when they were well, kids, and I'm not going to do it now because my throat's gone from, you know, what I went through last week. But yeah, Just love Rocky and Bullwinkle, Boris and Natasha, Deadly Do-Right, The Boy and the Dog. What are the boys? What's the boy and the dog's name on Rocky and Bullwinkle's program? If anyone can remember. Anyways, I love the narrator. That narratorial, that narrative. I'm sorry, narrative voice that would often layer through the show. That's when Boris and Natasha decided to do the following. I love that, and I love the execution of that, and how the characters would be responsive to it. That's when Boris and Natasha hurried their way across the courtyard. And hurry, Boris. And then I'm hurrying, Natasha, but I can't keep up with how fast he's talking. Or something, or they'd say something along those lines. And they would, give a hard time to the narrator for moving along too quickly. Brilliant, brilliant stuff. Sherman and Peabody. Hey, it's Philip Chandler. Welcome aboard, Philip. Thank you very much. That's right. Sherman and Peabody for sure. Ladies and gentlemen, if you get a chance, take a look at what Philip's doing. He's been doing some illustration stuff lately. It's really fun. I'm really enjoying some of the stuff that he's been posting. And then you're back doing. I'm sorry, Philip. I can't remember your friend's name that's doing. You're doing your show with. I apologize. Just addled brain today. But feel free to tell people when you're doing stuff next. Okay, so I'm trying to milk out whatever last bits of Jessel I've caught on here. Sherman and Peabody. Yeah, when they do these modern versions of these old programs, they never. It's a time and a place thing. And I'm sorry, but some of the things that they would get up to in the older programs, we live in a sensitive age. It's just, these freeform thoughts are too much for modern kids. But think about that idea. Russian agents being confounded by a moose and a squirrel. Oh yeah, hi by the way. It's been a while. Yeah, I missed you, pal. Peabody was the dog. Yes, I think so. Oh yeah, okay, Sherman. Yeah, almost like the guy that did NFL films, The Frozen Tundra. Oh, there you go. There's a thing we used to have here in Canada where they would do on TVO or PBI, I don't remember which it was, but they would say the Arctic fox, and it would have this footage of behavioral patterns and of the Arctic fox as this narration over top, informing people about these beautiful animals. And then I remember at some point in time seeing people trying to do modern versions of those, but they would do things like the ordinary house hippo, and it's like a miniature hippo, like 4 to 8 inches long, that has all the same habitual patterns of a hippo, but within your household, like it's a pet. And I love that flip, that little flip of an idea. And in my head, that feels like something that was probably come up with by somebody that watched Rocky and Bullwinkle. And the Frozen Tundra too, for sure. Philip says I'm doing a little revamping of the YouTube thing. I'll start up after the holidays in January. Hey, good news. Good news. Let me know. Anything I can do to help you out, Philip, let me know. All right, so we've got our zoom in, and we're talking about the action in and of itself of the example that we're going to narrate at the same time as the visual has pulled in on the wheel. And so there's all those connotations for drivers or people that have, rode in the front seat of a vehicle. And we know that the wheel is the place of control. So there's that little psychological association that people are going to have as they see the wheel, right? We're missing looking lines. So I had, there he is. Oh, Derwin. It's like a trip to the dentist whenever I use those things. That's the wrong kind of dentist. Anyways, so we've got the shot here. We've got it pulling in on the driver's on the wheel. So let's think about the front of a vehicle, and let's think about dashboard. I'm sorry, I was trying to find the word. So let's take our perspective from. We'll look in this way, and so we'll see the wheel, which still holds its form here. Okay, and we know that the wheel, basically most wheels have 3-point contacts for the wheel to move around, right? Center post, and that center post goes into the dashboard itself, and relegated behind that is where we see the speedometer and things like that. And so we know that we're going to rough those ideas in here. Maybe a cigarette lighter or a gear stick as that moves into the space. So we're putting these different elements down, but at the same time, we're going to force the image because this is a car accident, and you can see while there is some foreshortening, the inside is not going to be what the inside normally should be. And so we'll move the seat up as though it's dislocated from its moorings. And then we'll rest the front of the seat in an awkward position, which we haven't overly defined, but we've moved this form up here so we could suggestively say that this is what's happened. A little edit on our previous panel. And so we're going to move this seat up like so. And so because we've got this definable amount of space for us to use, and we know that the interior of the car is going to move across like that, and the underneath of the dash is going to move across like that, our window is going to sit over here, and it's just thinking about all those shapes and how they move in space and how they work together in order to build up the composition of the car. So here's where we've got our roof line, and there is where the door appears. And we've got a good solid bend in that door, so maybe we can push out some of the metal of the interior of the door into our image here. So it's a bad situation. It's a car accident. It's a car crash. It's practically like there's damage to the vehicle. If anybody's suffered a car crash while you're watching, and you're watching this movie, Chris, don't make light of it. Many apologies. So let's put the. Does anybody do this? Here's a question for you. I'm drawing in the handle, right? For putting the window down. Does anybody do this? If you're talking to somebody outside or inside a car, has anybody found themselves on modern cars still saying, roll the window down, roll the window? Has anybody done that? If you have, I'd love to hear about it. Because I know I have. Monty Python was a good example of an absurdist perspective on storytelling, like where you'd have, a tale of the young girl that lives in the woods, and the character is portrayed by John Cleese, who is 6'2", 6 feet plus, and is, walking through the woods, pushing over small trees, dressed in a little milkmaid outfit from, the cultural aesthetic of the 1800s or whatever it is. I love stuff like that. Does anybody, does there anybody have any particular examples of stuff like that they love? Funny you mentioned that. I just saw a friend of mine do that a couple weeks ago. We kind of laughed about it after. Is that right? The pushing of trees? Is that, or was it something else I said? My brain can't keep up with myself. So there's the other part of our window. So that means the other post of our roof is over there. And that's our front window. Yeah, that's interesting. It's funny that, eh? So by blacking out basically the background has allowed us to have our focus primarily on the crash car in and of itself. Now we can draw the background. Yesterday's page, I'm drawing the street. The rolling down of the window. Oh, brilliant. Brilliant. Yeah. Oh, I love it. Just roll down the window. I want to tell you something. And the other person goes, the button goes, what? When the two knights are fighting and cutting off all their arms. Oh, man, that's only a flesh wound. Oh, that's a good one. That's such a good one. There, you're defeated. No, I'm not. Yes, you are. I've cut your arm off. No, you didn't. Yes, I did. It's only a flesh wound. Walk takes the other arm off. Open the wing window. What? What the wing window? There's a excuse me. There's a fantastic moment in one of the Monty Python television episodes. I think it is, or maybe it's in Meaning of Life. I'm not sure what it is. I think it's in one of the television shows, but there's a song that plays. There's a dance that people do holding fish, and they do this little prancing motion and smack each other, clack, clack, in the face with these fish. And then one guy has this massive trout or something. He just knocks the other guy flying out of the river. I love that so much. You know, I've one of the things that I would say to my kids when I, give them trouble is, behave yourself or I'll knock you into the creek with a salmon. I never knew what I was talking about. It's like the phone thing, holding your thumb and pinky up the side of your head like old phones. Give me a call. Give me a call. Or even better, Philip, is if you've ever seen anybody do this, they go, call me. This, if you do this, you're giving away your age. You're a minimum of 45 years old if you do that, I think. Excuse me. I might be running out of voice here, folks. Yeah, that's, yeah. Call me up. Call me up later. Call me up at 5. Yeah. Or even better, this. What time is it? Does anybody know? Do you know the time? Do you know what the freckle on my wrist is? Yeah. Here's a fun game to play. Ask anybody under the age of 25 what time it is on your analog clock. You'd be surprised. Salmon envy. Oh, fantastic. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's going to be stuck in my head all day now. All those little things that we do. If anybody can think of any other ones, please let me know. Put it in the comments or whatever else it is, because those things are, we could do an entire page of just referencing those ridiculous things. Oh, I don't know. Maybe I've got salmon envy. That's a great inside joke for people. You know, somebody's in a conversation and you're clearly doing that whole boisterous you know, well, as a man, we got salmon envy, pal. No idea what you're referring to. All right. I put the gesso away, so let's use this. It's a little bit of acrylic ink, so it's not much different. You know. All right, so we got acrylic ink it's like an, you know, standard ink, but it has an acrylic base to it. So once that dries, and like with inks, you can put some ink down in a reservoir, like or on a surface, and come back to it, and it becomes soluble again. You can put water in it. But with acrylic inks, you put that in a reservoir, and when you don't use it up, the next time you go to engage with it, it's dry, it's done, you're out of luck. And because it's the acrylic binding to it. So I didn't design it. I was too busy trying to tell people to roll the window down in the old school way. There's a funny bit by a comedian named Brian Regan where he talks about when he was a kid and he'd have to sit on the hump in the middle of the seat. And I don't think they make those anymore. I was thinking about that. I'm like, some of your audience might not know what that is. Don't touch that dial. Oh man, that's so good. Don't touch that dial. I'll be right back. That's the same as turn it to the next channel. Turn it to and you do this to your kids. Turn to the next channel. Like, what? Or you reference the remote control as the clicker. Does anybody know what the reference of the clicker is? This is a fun one. It refers to two different things. There's two different references when you say, pass me the clicker, and you're referring to the remote control. There's, because my kids had no idea what in the world the clicker was. Don't touch that dial. It's so good. Our kids will never grow up knowing the joy of available at all Loblaws, available at your local record shops or anything like that. Those days are done. I think I'm going to try to figure out as many of those as I can. In the next comic jam, everything I'm going to say to people in conversation is going to be related to those references. Because I got a lot of young people in the comic jams. And a couple of us are older, and so there'll be questions like, what is zipatone and stuff like that. So okay. So the clicker, two things. One, early remote controls had punch buttons. And so because the button had to activate, and it often they made a click sound, right? How am I doing that with my thumb? It's called a foot. So, and then the other thing is the brown box. And, you know, there's some YouTube videos of teenagers trying to use a rotary phone. Oh no! Oh my goodness, that's awesome. I'm gonna have to try to find those, Ann. Thank you for letting me know about that. Anybody get so excited when they answered a rotary phone they almost knocked themselves unconscious because of the weight and the solidity of the porcelain of the phone, and you're like, oh my god, I got it. And then you hit yourself too hard on the head from your enthusiasm to answer the call. Dan says, aluminum foil on the rabbit ears. Oh, it's even better. The having your siblings stand there and hold them like this as you're going, I can see it. I can see it. No, a little to the left. A little to the left as you're trying to tune in channels that you haven't got the cable for. Too much. I've recently seen kids trying to figure out a cassette tape. Oh my gosh. Yeah, there's a whole thing. There's a very trendy thing that goes on right now for recording bands, yeah, basically garage bands, on cassette. There's a whole thing about recording on cassettes, but they've now got these devices built that you can record 10 cassettes at one time off of your master. And it's like, where were those when we were pressing, record and play together and then pause, trying to make a romantic playlist for our, whoever our particular paramour was. Yeah. Also, I do this a lot. I'll just go, cut that, edit that part out. Nobody clips and edits anything anymore. Oh, it's just silliness. All right, so let's get these last bits of information in here. And then I want to, whoops, I didn't mean to put that in there. That's all right. We'll edit that part out. If you know how the end of a pencil relates to a cassette tape, you're just that old. Oh, yeah. Oh, you betcha. You got to rewind the cassettes when you bring them back to the VCR place or the tape rental place, but your VCR broke down. Yeah. Or how about renting VCRs? Renting DVD machines from the local variety. These rotten, spoiled kids don't know how good they can get it. That's okay. My oldest, my oldest is going to be 32 next week. Oh my goodness. And I watched her explain to her oldest what a Tamagotchi was. Does anybody here remember Tamagotchis? For those that might not, it was a little digital device that was a simulated pet, and it would on regular intervals remind you that it needed to be fed. You needed to activate a button to feed your Tamagotchi so that it didn't die. And so she found an old Tamagotchi device in a box at their home, and I watched her try to explain, this is the sort of some of the toys that we had when I was your age. I'm like, oh my goodness. And your kids are doing that with your kids, you're in trouble. All right. Paula says, that would be me. Heading out. Good seeing everyone. Hey, thanks for coming by, Dan. Thanks for the suggestion. Have a great day. Yeah. Thanks for stopping in. Super cool interaction. It's good fun. Okay, so listen, what are we at? 140. Okay, so you can see where I'm exploring around the car crash in and of itself. I'm exploring different angles and perspectives on the same scenario of, the broken down vehicle. And but textually, I'm going to use a car crash as an opportunity to talk about something else that didn't go according to plan. Similar to how I've referred to about how when you try to do the same thing over and over again and think it's going to work out differently, Surprise, surprise. But in this one, I thought I would talk about how, okay, so it didn't work out. And I want to do a flip side on that same notion that I referred to, where I talk about you can knock the dents out of it. You can get that back in the road. Sometimes these are costly mistakes, but mistakes are just mistakes. So I think that that's textually where I'm going to go with this page. And so using a visual element to carry us directionally one way, and then using the textual element to carry us another way. But in point of fact, the fusion of the two together tells a more rounded and complete story, a sort of third aspect to the story. And please experiment with this. Do it with, try this, okay? Now, last week, I showed long shot comics. If you didn't get to see that video, please check back on one of the videos last week. I wasn't feeling great, but I showed a video I finally brought out the long shot comics. Long shot comics is the history of the British Empire. And this is a 24-page comic, but every panel is a dot, and each dot is a character. And somebody will say, hi there at the top. And the dot says that. And then you've got, 2 dots, and the second dot says, hi back, And so every character is a dot. And when you've got crowd scenes, it looks like this, and it's just dots. And so it shows a fun image on the cover of the book where it has a magnifying glass over the dot, and it shows a British soldier, an illustrated British soldier, to promote the idea that, actually these are all really complex but incredibly tiny drawings that you need to see with magnification, which is, of course, it's not, it's dots. But one of my point is, you can use dots with text above it to tell your story, okay? Or you can use, here's this stick figure person, and here's this stick figure lady who shows up. And he says, hello. And you write hello above, and she says, do I know you? Point is, if you just sit down playing with however many panels, draw 4 panels or 4 squares, roughly the same size. Don't make them perfect, just square. Good enough. Off I go. Don't use a ruler, whatever. And write a dialogue between so-and-so and so-and-so, between 2 characters. Have one character enter the panel and the next character join them or not. It doesn't matter. It's up to you. But try this, and first have the characters having a conversation with one another. Hi there, I'm so-and-so. Nice to meet you. Blah, blah, blah. And then draw the same 4 panels and approach it from a completely different way. Enter halfway through the conversation. So the first person would say, and that's why I don't like soup. And the second person says, you're ridiculous. Why am I ridiculous? It's soup. And so now you've got, your second approach to the same images. If you put smiley faces or frowny faces on them, you got to incorporate that into the emotional resonance part of it. But my point is, you start with the simple, here's a dot, you move to the stick figures, when you put the happy or sad faces on them, or mad face, what that's going to do for you is now attach an emotional component to it. Is it incredibly basic? Yes. But the whole point isn't how fancy the drawings are or things like that. The whole point is you're playing with story in a sequence of events. And then I want you to allow yourself just to play with that sort of thing and to take it along if it's something that you've never done. So for those of you that you've done, plenty of those, you've already done this part. But for those that never have, give it a try. See what you find out with it. And another direction that you could take it is by having the characters acting out in the scene, and you've established the sort of tone of the scene in these previous iterations of the same thing. But maybe in that last one, you narrate it instead. Have a narrator describe what's going on between these two people. Or you can have a poem describing what's going on with these two people, or a song, or a sonnet, or, point is, different approaches and different perspectives and different ways for you to allow yourself to tell stories does not require you to have incredibly involved illustrations. It doesn't require you to have, the most beautiful weaved together tapestry of story and art. It's exploring those avenues until you find your comfort in how you execute those for yourself. But trying different approaches to storytelling, first person, third person, whatever it is, you might find a voice that you don't think you have. We all have an innate necessity for communication. Absolutely true. But it's the actualizing part that is something that is educated out of us and that's societally squeezed out of us. But we all have a need to do so. And sometimes when life doesn't let us engage and interact with other human beings, and sometimes when life doesn't let us have a sense of self because maybe the people that we do engage with, we feel diminished, or we're looking for some sort of avenue or some sort of other bridge for communicating and engaging with the greater world outside there, because that tends to help us feel like a person engaging with other persons or people. This is a way to try that. This is a way to explore that. This is a way to facilitate another means of communicating. Anyways, it's something fun to try, something that I encourage everybody to do. And you can take something as silly as a car crash. And, this page could be about soup. It doesn't matter. This page can be illustrating a car crash and vacillating around the image itself, but at the same time, espousing a distaste for certain kinds of soup. And you can finish the page off with, I'd sooner roll my car off a cliff, than eat pea soup. It doesn't matter. You're the one that's weaving it together, and the viewer is trying to understand what it is that you're trying to communicate. So explore, play, have fun. I will have this page finished for tomorrow, posted in the morning on Instagram, Facebook, and Patreon. Patreon will also include the original art. The Patreon thing's $3 a month. I also post extra pages on the weekends on Patreon that I don't put on Instagram or Facebook because I'm mean. Just because that's, I appreciate the support that everybody gives me here, but that $3 a month I got to, something in response to that. So, if anybody has one page story ideas, if anybody has suggested words for tomorrow's 3-Prompt Tuesday, let me know. Feel free to put it in the comments section on here on YouTube or on Instagram or Facebook posts, and we'll do what we can with them. Here's another weird one. Just one more image to show you. I got a post-it that I just have sitting over here. Here's a fun challenge. It says okay. Now it says okay upside down because I'm quirky, but it's just a person, rough little stick figure person standing in long grass. And above him it says okay, but it says upside down. Maybe that's a start for you to try to do something with a little engaging story for yourself and explore storytelling. I don't know. Either way, I'll be back tomorrow at 2 p.m. EST here on the stream. And in the meantime, have fun. And I look forward to seeing what it is that you're doing. Bye for now. Thanks everybody for coming and joining me.